I highlighted three distinct areas: my work in Brazil, my work in Haiti, Port-au-Prince, Cachoeira, and my work in the United States on Malaga Island. They were three slivers of the complexities of looking at how the system works and the annihilation of Black people in the Americas. And so I just wanted to outline how my work both highlights it and how I use performance, ethnography as a method, and also the strategies that I deploy in ways of making my research accessible, not just to my academic colleagues, but if I truly believe in transformative work, how do I make it accessible to the masses? Yeah, I think the reason why I use the frame of necropolitics because of its expansive critique that is nuanced and complicated. It doesn't represent the notion of Blackness, particularly in the Americas, as a homogenous group, right? So to engage and understand or to unravel these systems is very complex. It is always culturally bound. It is always contextualized within these spaces, you know. The very systems regarding healthcare and those conversations and who has access is very different than from those in Brazil and those in Haiti and those in the United States, right? So even though the framework of necropolitics allows for the nuance and the complexities of everyday lived experience, both the overt and the subtleness, right? So it's an expansive frame to use. So I've been having these conversations, but never explicitly engaging with until I read Mbembe.
Okay.
And then I began to see, oh my goodness, there is this line. I am thinking about these political systems in these spaces. So my work has always been about engaging communities in political issues, for sure. But the level at which the theme of death and necropolitics emerged, it was totally generative. I remember, and a guiding quote for me is from MFA K. Fisher, who was a very famous American food writer. Actually, she lived here in France, in Paris, for a long time. She wrote about food. I mean, she has defined the American essay about food. Never wrote a cookbook, but she has 6 or 7 books about, you know, just writing about food and culture. And someone approached her in World War II and said, "Why are you writing about food at this moment?" And her response was, "How can I not write about food? When I'm writing about food, I am writing about the politics of food. I am writing about hunger. I am writing about international policy. I am writing about access and availability." So that to me is when I think about my work, and I think it's imperative for us as academics, scholars, and citizens that we are able to communicate on a multitude of different levels, you know, so that people can be aware of these systems that are taking place in our society. Absolutely. My pedagogy is rooted in um, a critical pedagogy, allowing for, you know, I want my students to engage. You know, we talk. And most of my students, I say, hey, this is not a classroom where I possess all the knowledge, but I want to create this intellectual community where I want you to just speak. I don't care if it's not about being right or wrong, but I'm interested in how, number one, you are thinking, And I want you to be in dialogue with your other colleagues in the class. Because I believe that those kind of discourses and understanding and listening to people, right? To really listen and understand is transformative. A methods course that I teach is called Performance, Narrative, and the Body. It's a regular methods course on how to do research, but the students are asked to write a paper that is not written. How do you do this methodological work and present it in a way other than a paper? So in that kind of course, I'm expecting them to understand different ways of disseminating and thinking about research. And I think there's a range. You know, some people are able to write a check. Some people are able to march. Some people are able to write letters. And for me, even allowing my students to think expansively is transformation. See, Dersoto said that even a walk through the city can be a liberatory act, right? So even having my students think differently, even having them ask questions, even my neighbors, having them think differently. We may not agree, but posing an interesting question for them to ponder, that is transformation to me. That is a liberatory act. When we suspend the constraints of every day, when we think more expansively, for example, for the young child, or maybe some of the artists in the Grand Rue, to be in a space where I use the example of Laura Heyman's work, to perform in front of the camera in any way that they want to be represented. That is a moment of possibility, of allowing them to think more expansively outside of the restraints that they think imposes, that are imposed on them, only to realize, hey, I can do this despite these systems. And so that's what I mean by these moments of performance of possibilities, creating those kind of spaces.